all, this video is going to go over the work for number 5. So to set up for number 5, the problem asks us to set it up just as we did for problem number 4. For me, I had a bigger person on the right and a smaller person on the left. For yours, you might have it switched. The key thing is that we have one person that's bigger and one person that's smaller, but if you have it the other way, that's fine. So what we're going to do is start this process. And then the process for number 5 is specifically going to start when we remove the people. So when I press go, I'm going to let them start pulling so that it is moving. And then we're going to remove the people. And now our process has started. We're just going to notice what's happening. I'll pause here. Let's just take note of what's involved in this process. We're considering the cart. The cart is sitting on the ground, so the ground is involved, and then Earth's gravitational field is involved. Because we're not considering the process when the people are attached to the rope, we're just considering the process starting after we remove them. They are not involved in this process. So let's take note of this and document our work. So now I've already drawn the schema for this process. Feel free to pause this video at any time so that you can check your work compared to what I've done. I have the cart in my schema, I have the ground, and then I have Earth's gravitational field. I've drawn my interactions, my forces with two-sided arrows. I have a normal force between the cart and the ground, that's our contact force, and then non-contact gravitational force between the cart and Earth's gravitational field, as well as between the ground and Earth's gravitational field. I added a note just for reference that in some situations with contact forces, we add a friction force. In this case, the friction that may be between the cart and the ground, we're considering negligible. It's not having a big enough effect on what's going on to add it into our schema. So let's transition this schema into our force diagram. The first thing we want to note is that the force diagram is for the cart. And that means that we're considering the force diagram from the perspective of the cart. And I'll add a note. And so if we zoom in on this schema, focusing right around the cart, we'll notice that from the perspective of the cart is feeling two different forces, two different interactions. We have this gravitational force, we see that arrow there, and we have the normal force, we see that arrow there. So we're going to put those into our force diagram. So for our force diagram, I'll add it over here. We'll first add a dot that's representative of the cart. And then let's consider, okay, the gravitational force first. We're going to add that arrow downward because Earth's gravitational field is pulling the cart down. And we'll practice our notation. So this is a force and it's a gravitational force. So we add the type and then we add the agent. So Earth's gravitational field, which I'll write EF for short, and it's acting on the cart. Then we'll add our normal force, which is the ground pushing up on the cart, and we'll practice our notation. So force, the type is a normal force, and it's the ground on the cart. And because the cart is sitting on the ground, it's not flying into the air or being pulled into the ground, let's add our congruency marks to show that these two forces have equivalent magnitudes, so they're the same length, and that means they're the same number of newtons in different directions. That's our force diagram. Let's now add a note about the motion that we noticed. So we saw, again, our process starts after we remove the people. Once I remove those two people, if we paid close attention to the speedometer, there was a constant velocity once we removed those people. And for me, because of the setup for number 4, that constant velocity I'm going to add was moving the cart to the right. For you, depending on your setup for number 4, it may have been going to the left. Either's fine. I'm adding this note just so that we know the velocity wasn't 0. The cart was still moving, but it was moving with a constant velocity. So that's our setup. We have our schema, our force diagram, and a note about the motion of the cart.